Welcome to the Karma Yoga Center Full Moon Report. We are doing alchemical astrology reports every new moon and full moon. I do the full moons, Michael does the new moon. This week, the moon goes into Capricorn and it'll be big and full on Wednesday. So we're wanting to show you some of the aspects that are happening at the same time. And in order to do so, I thought it'd make it a little easier, hopefully, to understand all the things that are astrologically driven by using props to help tell the story. So first we have Earth right here in the center. Astrology is geocentric, meaning we think from our viewpoint that everything is spinning around us. So all the astrology we talk about is as if everything is going around Earth. So we have it on our patio table here in our backyard. The bee is representing you on Earth. Be here now. We are in our backyard, as I mentioned, here in Denver, Colorado, which is quite appropriate for this report because the sun is in Cancer right now. The sun represents how you express yourself externally, and Cancer, the little crabby, carries its home in its shell. This is a hermit crab we brought back from Cape Cod last year. So Cancer represents home. The sun is how you express yourself in the world. This is happening right now, and opposite of that, at the other side of the wheel, is the full moon, and it's in Capricorn. I'm using Gandhi to represent Capricorn. Gandhi is a beautiful representation of what Capricorn stands for, standing strong in your beliefs and having your beliefs come into manifest and into power. And doing it through law and right way is the best way I like to think of it. And he was a lawyer fighting for human rights, of course, as we know. So he's representing Capricorn, and the moon is in his sign, and right next to the moon is Saturn. So representing Saturn is this timepiece. If you know your Greek mythology, you'll know that Saturn is Cronus in Greek mythology, and Cronus is time. So this is representing time, and it's kind of appropriate because Saturn is the disciplinarian, the timekeeper, keeping us on task. He delivers our karmas, and that's going to be important a little bit later when we come into this little play out of astrodrama here. Also in the side of Capricorn, remember that's Gandhi's energy, is Black Moon Lilith. Little lesser known celestial energy, but she's quite potent. This represents the sacred feminine. We're using this piece of black tourmaline to represent Black Moon Lilith. And she's right up next to Pluto. We're using this crystal skull to represent Pluto because Pluto represents the soul energy or your soul self, the deepest part of you that knows everything you've ever been through and everything you're ever going to go through. We follow a tradition called evolutionary astrology, and Pluto is probably one of the more important planets in this astrological program. Okay, so we've got Capricorn, we've got the sun. They're at opposite ends of each other on the wheel. These are going to be a story in just a minute, but I'm going to go through the rest of the items on the table here. Right over here is the sign of Leo, represented by this little jaguar. Probably should be a lion, but I was out of lion, so we're using jaguar. In the sign of Leo is Venus. Our beautiful Lakshmi is representing Venus. And tomorrow, Mercury, played by Toth here, is going to slide into Venus as well. Mercury represents your communication. And then another, maybe lesser known energy, celestial energy, is the north node of the moon. And we're going to let this serpentine rock represent the north node. So this is Leo. This is the sign of Leo, and this is the whole party happening over here. And then across, directly across from Leo, is Aquarius. And I've got the Mad Hatter representing Aquarius. Aquarius is innovation. Aquarius is invention and revolution. And it's appropriate, I felt, that the Mad Hatter was representing the Aquarian sign. He might have to sit down. Also in the sign of Aquarius is the opposite of the north node. That means the south node. And I'll explain these in just a moment. And then Mars. represented by this knight here, the warrior energy. Mars is in the sign of Aquarius, and these are all on the opposite side of Leo. And then just a little ways around the corner, a big player in the astrology right now is Uranus, and he's represented by, my son tells me this is Winston from Overwatch. He's a guerrilla scientist, and he's representing Uranus. And he's in the sign of Taurus, represented by this bull bone. It's actually a cow bone, but we're going to pretend it's a bull for now. Taurus is the bull, very earthy. Uranus is lots of lightning, a lot of electricity, and he's a key player in the story today. So, be here now, and here we go. First thing we'll start with is the sun and moon opposition. Whenever they're opposing each other, it's kind of like being at a dinner table, and you sit down and they face each other. It doesn't have to be an opposition of a fight, but it's direct contact with each other. So the moon represents the inner child, or the way we represent ourselves or talk to ourselves internally. How I speak to you outside might be a different voice that's running, or a different script that's running internally. The moon represents that internal script. The sun represents the external script. So with these two sitting across the table from each other, as well as the rest of this party in Capricorn, there could be some things that come up. And one of the big players, I think, is Saturn, the disciplinarian. Saturn could be saddled up next to your little self saying, what are you going to do about that stuff you're thinking inside? And he's looking across the table saying to the sun, and why aren't you representing what you're feeling inside a little bit more significantly? Those could be some plays there. Karma, in other words. Your karmas might be coming into play at this time, asking you to deal with some of those internal and external misunderstandings or misrepresentations that we're putting out there. If that's coming up for you, best thing to do is face it. To take that as an opportunity, or a teacher, the great guru of Capricorn, is giving us a chance to do a soul lesson and improve ourselves and kind of clear some of these karmas. So not running and hiding at this time, and letting ourselves be honest and truthful with what's going on internally as well as externally, owning some of those karmas. Not all karmas are bad. Some karmas are really good. It might be time for Lakshmi to show up and bring abundance. Some of the fruits of your labor, that good alignment you've been working on, coming through and paying off. So it's not necessarily something to fear, but something to be aware of that's coming. Okay, I'm going to let that part sit. That's enough for now. We're going to move over to these two. Starting with Leo. Leo represents being on the stage, represents taking our creativity and jumping up on stage and letting it come into play. And sometimes that can show up as arrogance. Sometimes that can show up as being too controlling, too bossy, too domineering. And sometimes it's a wonderful performance. Just one of the best productions we've put out. Pigeons in the backyard. So with Venus in the house, that could be the positive play of the production. It was beneficial, it was abundant, it showed up the way we wanted it to. And it can also be the shadow side of these two together, could be a little bit too much of that arrogance, too much self-absorption or self-recognition. So just to be aware of this energy here. The north node of the moon represents our future energy, where we'd like to take our soul self. So it's a good time to play out that stage energy in a positive, forward-moving fashion, taking the bounty and abundance of Lakshmi and Venus and putting it towards a positive forward movement. You also have Mercury sliding in there the day after the full moon. We know our words can be very moving, and they can also be very detrimental. So while you're on stage with your mouthpiece, it's really important that you watch your words at this time. And I'm going to point out a couple more reasons in a minute why it's particularly important to be immaculate or direct, honest, and clear with your language. So let's go over here to Aquarius with the South Node. Now, if the North Node represents our soul wanting to move forward in our life, the South Node represents where our soul is wanting to revisit the past. Aquarius is the revolutionary, the inventor, the person who's creating change. He's taking all that good lawmaking that Capricorn did, and he moves it into Aquarius, and we move it into change. We build these strong communities together if it's in the positive. Mars is in the sign, the warrior energy, so those two together could do some great positive change. And Mars is going to be in Aquarius for 6 months. This is very rare. The longest, Mars is also the closest to Earth that it's been. It's about 50 million miles away from Earth right now, normally about 140 million miles away, so significantly closer, and you'll be able to see it, big red tomato-looking planet up in the sky. It's hanging out here going forward and back and forward again. 3 times it's passing over the South Node. So that's significant because the past and your warrior, and you're taking your warrior over past charging, it just did that. It's going to turn around now and go retrograde. It doesn't literally turn around, but that's the imagery you can use. And go back over slowly. So you drudged up your past, warrior fashion. Now you're going to turn around and go back over your past and look at it. Well, you can just stare at it and do nothing with it, or you can clear the karmas. You can let go of some old patterning that still keeps haunting, that still keeps showing up, that you haven't cleared on that soul level. And use that inventive, revolutionary energy of Aquarius to help you do so. And then it's going to take another pass again and go forward. So we have 6 months to let our warrior really dig in and work on this energy. Currently, though, it's going to be going backwards and taking a slow, energetic pull over it. So instead of our warrior being outgoing, forward, charging, it might be taking a little hiatus in the tent. It might be licking its wounds. It might be shutting down a little bit. So that's important on the opposite side, that Mercury, who's in opposition to it, looking at it, is gentle, not poking with harsh words. That we are gentle with ourselves and gentle with others who are in the same boat. This astrology is for everybody. Now let's move to this guy. Remember the lightning bolt Uranus creature we have here. Lightning's great when you need to start a fire and you're freezing and it comes down and kaboom. There we go, nice fire, we're toasty warm. Lightning is scary when you're standing there next to a rod and there's a bunch of water around and kaboom, you're electric. So it goes either way. This is random, this is chaotic, this is a lightning bolt in any way, spontaneity, and so you got to be careful. And you got to look at where it's sitting. It's right here in between Mars or Aquarius and Leo, and it's squaring off. Now this is a square. This has a lot of potential for disharmony and challenge in life. The lightning bolt could strike here. When you're licking your wounds in your little tent, looking at your karmas, having a pity party, the lightning bolt could strike and wake your butt up. It could also strike and make you get off your butt and do something about it. But it could go either way. It's just important to have awareness of that. Also, that lightning bolt could turn and face this way. It's in an exact square here, both ways, a T-square. So it could shoot over there at Venus. Taurus, it represents our values. A little bit, it represents money and possessions. And if there's a lightning bolt going over here to our abundance, that could be a boon. That could be all the coins coming out of the gambling machine, slot machine, there we go. Or it could be an upset to our finances. So you got to be really aware and be a little bit, I don't want to put fear into it, of course, but just be cautious. It's a good time to buy land, strike, and buy that. Take that step. You've been wanting to do it, go for it. Or maybe it's not the time. You sit with it and you think about it. Use that Mercury energy to help you think about how you're spending your money. These two go well together when you're being a little bit more methodical with your finances on that creative stage with the future. Now, back to Mercury could get you in trouble with your mouth. That lightning bolt, if you're being a little too verbal, a little too harsh with your words, or you're gossiping, or you're speaking ill of yourself, any of those kind of things, you might get a little lightning bolt as a message from Spirit saying, slow your roll on that. That's not the way we play. Play nice. Play nice in Leo. Leo is playful. It's childlike energy. It's creative. It's fun. So we want to keep in alignment with where we're at. Okay, I think I've covered a heck of a lot. Hopefully this little astro drama helps play it out in your mind's eye to see how it all goes. For a quick recap, the sun is in Cancer. It's a water sign, very emotional, kind of sensitive, bright and sunny like the summer. Be playful, have fun, feel your emotions, but don't get crabby. Opposite of you is Saturn, trying to help you work through your karmas. Don't get mad at it if it hands you a karma and you need to clear it. Use the luminosity of that moon to help with that. Capricorn's good judgment to help with that. Your soul wants you to do that, and use that sacred feminine inside all of us, not just us ladies, that's everybody, to help you move through that. It's a time for the sacred feminine to come to birth again. And then Aquarius and Leo, we've got our Mars. Let's be very cautious of our warrior energy. Use it for good. Maybe take a hiatus and look inside. Take care of our wounds from all of our warrioring. Be inventive, revolutionary, and let some of that past karmic stuff go. It's a good time for karma clearing. And then over here we've got Lakshmi, or Venus rather, and Mercury working together in the creative playhouse. Let your ideas soar, your creativity soar, and take it forward into that North Node future soul self. And then watch this guy use his random creativity as a force for good. And if you do get a little lightning spanking, know that it's a teacher, and not to go spiraling down. Let it all work out to your benefit with reflection and humility. That's all I have for today. Thank you for listening. Continue to watch our free astrological reports. Next one will be from Greece on the new moon, July 12th, which is also a partial solar eclipse crossing over the nodes. You'll get more on that one from Michael. Be well. Much love.